An educator, hip-hop artist, poet, and activist, Guante spoke out against the gender constraints from society and media to Northwestern students. His words provided humor and awareness to a subject that has been buzzing around on campus.
The way that we talk about gender in this country, I think, undergirds a lot of other things that we do or don't talk about in terms of who is allowed to, express themselves in an authentic way, who is allowed to do certain jobs, who is allowed to be who they are. And it may not ever be, or it may not often be explicit, but I think implicitly we're often put into these boxes based on gender that really impact our future and our relationships with each other. And I think a lot of it comes from like capitalism and like wanting to be able to market products to certain segments of the population. It makes it easier when you can kind of put people into two big boxes. I think even beyond like the marketing, media, promotions type stuff, it's also just you trace this back to like, rooting the nuclear family where like the man does this and the woman does this because that's where stability in a nation state comes from, which I don't necessarily buy.
Here's an example of Guante's poetry.
So how many boys have to kill themselves before we acknowledge this as a problem? How many women have to be assaulted? How many trans people have to be murdered? We teach boys how to wear the skin of a man, but we also teach them how to raise that skin like a flag and draw blood for it. 8. Boy babies get blue socks. Girl babies get pink socks. What about purple? What about green?
Speaking out about these issues can sometimes be a sensitive topic, which makes poetry a good outlet for voicing concern and creating an identity, as Guante explains.
Poetry in particular has a very powerful way of putting a human face on what is often abstract issues for people. Like we don't always get a chance to sit down with our friends or our family to, let's talk about gender roles. But I think with poetry and poetry slams and open mics and spoken word, like that's a very common thing people talk about. And to be able to get up in front of a crowd and talk about these issues we don't usually get to talk about, I think can be a very powerful thing. And also beyond that, beyond the actual like substance of the pieces, just the simple act of getting up on a stage in front of a microphone and talking about what you believe in is something that allows you to claim your own identity and really figure out who you are as opposed to what society is telling you to be.
Throughout the performance, students responded positively to Guante's words with snaps and claps. Many also complimented and talked with Guante after the show about gender roles. This is Elizabeth Santoro reporting from Medill.